In this tutorial, I'm gonna teach you how you can make this saw game object moving with nice animation curve you can see. And before I jump into the coding part, I want to thank Twerl for joining my Patreon membership and unlocking exclusive benefits. And if you guys are interested, then you can join too. I will have the link in the description. So go and check it out. In order to move this saw, we're gonna use Lean Tween. So head over to google.com and go to your Unity Asset Store account and search over here Lean Tween, and it's gonna pop up. And once you're gonna click on it, you're gonna see a button somewhere around here, add to my assets. So just click on it, and once you're done, you can just go over to Unity editor, go to top window in the top, then go to package manager, and then choose my assets in the left bar and search over here Lean Tween, and it's gonna pop up. And once it's gonna pop up, you're gonna see a download or install button somewhere around here. So just click on it and then import, and once you finish, you can simply cut this tab. And now what we're gonna do, we're gonna create two position to move this saw between those 2 points. So let's create that. To create that, let's go to hierarchy. We're gonna right click, let's create an empty game object, and I'm gonna move it somewhere around here, and I can call it something like first point. I'm gonna simply call it 1, just like that. And I want to choose an gizmos. To choose that, go to inspector, click on this cube icon, and you can choose the gizmos. I'm gonna choose this one, and let's duplicate this one to create the second position. So I'm gonna select that, and let's press down Ctrl D to duplicate, and I'm gonna move it somewhere around here, something just like that. And I can call it something like second point, or I'm gonna simply call it something like 2. And now we're gonna create a script to move our saw. To do that, go to your project tab, assets, right click, go create mono behavior script, and you can name it to something like saw mover. I already created a script called saw mover, you can see right over here. So we're gonna attach that script to our game object. So I'm gonna attach that. So let's attach our script to that game object. And now what we need a reference, both of these position reference, so we can move this job between them. So we need the position. So let's open up our script by double clicking on it, and I will remove the update function we don't need. And let's go to top of our class, and let's grab the reference. So we're gonna make a public transform which is responsible for position, rotation, and scale, and we can call it something like point 1 or first position. And also we need a reference to the second position, so we're gonna make another public transform, and we can call it something like second position. I'm gonna simply call it point 2. Sorry, this will be our point 1, and this will be point 2. Underneath our saw mover script, we can see point 1, point 2. So I'm gonna take my first point or 1, and I'm gonna drag it over to point 1 and then point 2. Now we can see we have both of this position, and we are ready to move that this saw. To move that, let's go to script, and we're gonna make a function to move our saw. For function, we're gonna type void, and we can call it something like for the first time I just want to move this saw to the first position. So I'm gonna call this function to something like move to first point. I'm gonna simply call it move to point 1, something just like that. We're gonna call it, and to move that, we're gonna use Lean Tween. So we're gonna use this Lean Tween which we install it, and then we're gonna use this move function dot move, and as a first variable it's gonna take the game object that we want to move. So because we want to move itself, the saw game object, so we're gonna pass this dot game object, means the saw game object referencing itself. And the second thing, it's gonna take the position. Because we want to move to the first position, I'm gonna pass point 1 dot position. And the third parameter, it's gonna take the time, so we can put a time, and let's create a variable for it. So I will go to top of my class, and let's declare a variable. So I'm gonna make a public float, and I can simply call it time, and by default I'm gonna set it to something like 2 unit. And I'm gonna pass the time over here. So let's pass our time. And if you want to choose nice animation curve, so you can do that. If you want to use bounciness to move to the first position, then you can use a function called dot set is out bounds. I'm gonna use any of them. So type this set, type this dot, and then you can use this set. Set is out, and you can use any of these. If you want bounds, then you can use this function called set is out bounds. It's up to you. I'm gonna use this function called set is out expo, and then I'm gonna make first bracket and then close that up with semicolon. Make sure you close that up with semicolon, and now we have to call this function, and this function just gonna move our saw to the first point, and I'm gonna call it inside this start function. Basically I'm gonna call the function which is move to point 1. We should see it's gonna move to the first position. So let's take a quick look on this, and indeed it just move it over to the first position. And once we are first position, then we want to move this saw to the second position. To move that, we're gonna make a separate function for in order to move this saw to the second position or to the bottom position. So let's make a function for it. So we're gonna make a separate function. So type this void, and we're gonna call it something like move to point 2. Just like that, we're gonna call it, and we're gonna use the same function to move, which is lean tween dot move function. And now it's going to take the game object, so we're going to pass this dot game object. And the second thing, it's going to take the position because we want to move to the second position. So I can simply pass point 2 dot position because I want to move to the second position. And now we're going to pass our time as a third parameter, and I'm going to use the same function which is set is out expo to make it nice. But we need to call it. But when should we call this move to point to function to move over to the second position? Once our saw gonna be to the first position. Let's suppose the saw is over here. Then what we're gonna do? We're gonna move to the second position. So that's why we're gonna go over to our first function, which is move to point 1, where we're moving the saw game object to the first position. We can use at the end of this line of code. So type this dot, and you can use this set on complete function. So once we're gonna be to the first position, then we want to move our saw to the second position. So we can simply call this function which is move to point 2. So we can fit the function name over here. So this line of code will be complete. Once this will be complete right over here, then this set on complete just gonna call, and it's gonna call when we're gonna be to the first position. So what we're gonna do now, we're gonna go to our script, and we're gonna put the function name which is move to point 2. So this function just gonna call this one, and we do know that once it's gonna call this function just gonna call, then this our basically the saw game object just gonna move to the bottom position or to the second position. And let's see that we should see that once it's gonna be the first position, then automatically it's gonna move to the second position because we just call it that function, and indeed just it's move it over to the bottom position or to the second position. And now once we're gonna be in the second position, then we want our this saw game object to move to the first position once again. So what we're gonna do now, we're gonna go over to our second position function, basically move to point 2 function, and over here we're gonna use the function called set on complete. And we do know that function just gonna call once we're gonna be to the second position or to the first position exact position. So we can use this set on complete, set on complete, and now it's gonna take the function which function basically we want to call, because we want to move to the first position. So we can simply call this function which basically moving our saw game object to the first position. So we can simply call the function over here, and we have to use this function called set on complete. And now we have to feed the function name which is move to point 1, because we want to move our we basically want to move our saw game object once again to the first position. So that's why we just pass our move to point 1 function name. As you can see, we can notice this saw game object just moving between these 2 points. Once to the first position, then it's moving to the second position, and once our saw to the second position or to the bottom position, then once again it's moving over to the first position,